Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Laura Presnell, and I'm the founder of Balanced Bombshells, and I help women naturally balance their hormones through cycle syncing. Anytime you want to be getting pregnant, pregnancy, postpartum, you want that happy menstrual cycle. That is what I love helping women with. So in today's video, I want to dive into the emotional components of weaning from breastfeeding and what that can mean for our hormones. So if you have wanted to nurse or you have nursed or you're looking to wean, there is a big emotional component that comes with breastfeeding. So I'm sharing this video because I feel like we don't necessarily always talk about the weaning process and how it can impact us as women. And I am coming up against my second journey of weaning from breastfeeding. And I have actually been feeling it emotionally, and I wanted to get on here and share it with you because it can be a lot, and you might not even make the association of weaning from breastfeeding to why your mood might all of a sudden be like changing. You might think you're just having like a bad month, or things are just irritating you, or you're weepy and you just don't know why. So weaning from breastfeeding, I have at least two different stories. When we wean from breastfeeding, we essentially are not having the same feel-good hormones and mood stability that breastfeeding can provide, because your estrogen and progesterone have been kept a bit lower while breastfeeding. So now those hormones are kind of coming back online, and some women do just fine. Some women, if you're like me, are just very sensitive to these bigger swings of hormone fluctuations, and I have very much noticed it within my mood. So even though I've been trying to do my best to keep my hormones balanced, now my she's self-weaning from breastfeeding, and over the last month has consistently been cutting down nursing sessions. She's over 10 months now. She's not as interested in breastfeeding. She's more distracted with feeding. She's teething, which has cut down a lot of nursing sessions. So I have replaced it with formula in a bottle. We introduced a bottle and formula fairly early on to take the pressure off of me from nursing. If for whatever reason we needed to come to this point sooner, she was like prepped and ready to go. So with our son, he actually went on a nursing strike at 8 months and was just 100% done with it. So I felt way more of a pull emotionally because the transition was really abrupt. Emotionally, I think I was super weepy and crying for literally 2 weeks straight, just every single day crying. You weren't getting the same skin to skin. I wasn't getting the same happy hormone release. I was pumping to bring my body down because I tried for like 3 weeks to get him to go back to nursing, and it just didn't happen. So I took to using the pump to, like, still get some breast milk, still kind of like self wean myself that way. But I didn't get the same happy hormone release by being skin to skin with him in terms of nursing. So emotionally, I felt it way more dramatically. With our daughter, I definitely have felt she went from like 4 to 5 nursing sessions a day to about 1 or 2. So I still felt a pull, especially when I got my period this past month, of just being more moody and emotional. And I remember looking at my husband and I was like, I think this is from her dropping so many nursing sessions. And at least having the wisdom of a second time mom, I at least know what that felt like from when our son had gone even more abrupt on it. So now it's just kind of down to just like once a day. And I would be surprised if we're still breastfeeding by Thanksgiving. Like, she's just, kind of just pushing me away. They can kind of tell when the breast milk isn't there. Like, my body is responding to her and then self-regulating. And then if I go to offer her nursing, she's only essentially doing the morning feeding, which is when you have more breast milk anyway. And then throughout the day, sometimes she might do once, but then that's it. And then we just do, she's more interested in eating food, and she'll take a bottle, but she's still not having as much milk. They just naturally get less interested in milk, which is totally fine. It's just, how can we support ourselves emotionally? So I'm still taking some herbs that help with my mood regulation. And I've been waiting to get my hormones tested until we're officially done with breastfeeding, because that can change the results. So if I got them now and I'm still technically nursing, I should wait at least a month or so after, when I'm officially done nursing and a cycle comes back. Like, for me, that just feels good to make sure that the hormones have a bit of a chance to regulate. Any sort of time you're going through your monthly cycle, it can take a whole month for your hormones to reset. So I want to make sure that I give my body some time. But I can just definitely tell that estrogen and progesterone are kind of coming back into gear, and emotionally, it can make us feel just lower, weepy. I have to like sit back and be like, am I actually feeling depressed? Like, is this just situational based off of weaning from breastfeeding? We do have a toddler, we do have a baby. So there is a lot of like high need going on, which can make you feel very stressful. And then anytime our daughter's teething, it impacts her sleep quite a bit. So naps and nighttime sleep, so that I'm not as rested because she still doesn't love like being soothed by my husband. So it's more on my shoulders for her first year. Which again is totally fine in what is needed right now. But emotionally, how can I feel protected? Like how can you feel protected if you're going through the same thing? So I definitely like using herbs that help balance our mood. I can't fully do anything really besides giving my body time to regulate outside of some breast friendly herbs that can support my mood because I'm technically still nursing. So there's a lot of things that I could do when I'm not nursing to help balance my hormones, but I'm not quite there yet. So I just wanted to like chat with you of like if you're in the same case or if you're going to be preparing your baby to wean, or maybe they're doing the same thing where they're starting to push you away. They're just not as interested in nursing, or with our son, if it's completely abrupt. That was really tough. I feel like that is the hardest because there was no step down approach. And at least now I can be like, okay, we are just like kind of coming to the end of our nursing relationship. And it's totally cool. We made it as long as possible. And that was my goal of however long she needs to do it up into a year. I've at least like been weaning at a year. That was my goal. And I was like, if we can make the full year, great. If not, that's also fine. I'm surprised we've gone this long just because our son was so abrupt. He was very abrupt because my period had come back when we introduced food when he was 5 months. It came back when he was 6 months old. And your breast milk can change in terms of supply and taste based off your hormone changes when you have your menstrual cycle back. So our son hated the transition. Our daughter definitely during like ovulation and my period would feel a little like I'm not as interested in this because it can change the taste of the breast milk, which nobody tells us. Like it's all these things that I end up Googling and like researching on my own based off of what's happening. And it's really stressful on us. And I just wanted to document it here because there's so much that goes into it for us emotionally, even if the ease of the journey has either been like easy or maybe it was hard. Like our son didn't latch for the first 8 weeks, and it was like I almost actually gave up trying to breastfeed. And then he nursed no problem at 2 months, and then it was like fine until 8 months. Our daughter was like perfect latch at the hospital, and the nursing journey with her has actually been one of the easiest with her. So some people, babies take to it as naturally as she did. And like that was beautiful. It was one thing that I told my husband, I was like, I would love to be able to nurse again, but if it's not easy, I have to let it go because with a toddler, with working, with a baby, like I just emotionally can't have all of that on my plate. Like it's just too much. And thankfully, I work from home and I'm with her most of the time. So I actually have not used a breast pump since March, and I'm filming this at the end of October into early November. So it's actually been amazing for my mental health of not using a breast pump. And then the fact that she is cutting down herself, I don't have to use a breast pump. And it's so freeing. I actually have PTSD from the breast pump for my son because I exclusively used the pump for 8 weeks and I hated it. And then with Ellie, I was trying to use it to like have a supply in the freezer and have my husband feed her. So, she would get used to two parents. And then finally I was like, this is just not working. I cannot keep finding the space for this in my day. Like there's just too many things going on that I just can't do it. So weaning is a journey. It definitely impacts your hormones. Estrogen and progesterone are coming online. What type of feel good activities can you do? So like getting up for walking, making sure I'm exercising. I'm changing up my diet quite a bit. So because I was nursing, I needed more calories. Now that things are cutting down, I actually do better on a lower carb diet. So I'm going back to that because I was eating higher carbohydrate diet during nursing just to keep up with the breast milk supply. I was really listening to my body of what it needed. And I can tell right now that it's kind of getting back to my own baseline, and it can just take a cycle or two, especially as we're stepping down. So thankfully my daughter's doing it as gradually as possible, and I love her for that. But I have been noticing the impact before my period, during my period, and a little bit afterwards that I'm just a little, it was like 2 days before my period this time. During my period was okay, and there was a few days after my period where I just felt more tired, I felt more moody. And it is harder when you're a mom because you're trying to be as happy and positive and balanced as possible. And it is extremely difficult when you have a toddler and a baby. I do feel like this season has been harder with the toddler energy versus baby, just because of the dynamic of what their needs are and what their moods can be. And like, okay, our son is going to be 3 in 2 months. And I'm like, okay, we're entering just like the teenage phase of a toddler, and it's fine. And like, he's doing so well, but it is emotionally hard to stay as calm and grounded as possible when internally you're still balancing everything out from having a baby and breastfeeding and all of the things that come into it. So if you need any help balancing your hormones, if you're noticing yourself on this journey and you need more support, I'm going to drop my one-on-one link below if you want to work together. I also have a program about 8 steps to naturally increase your progesterone if you're noticing that estrogen and progesterone are a bit off and you need some support there. And I also have the Moody Meltdowns to Balance Bombshells program that also help balance your hormones overall, from estrogen, progesterone, cortisol specifically, and focusing on your gut health and all the things that go into balancing our hormones, because it's so much. And in these seasons of just the bigger swings, we definitely need that support, and we need those outlets to find that accountability and support and know that we're not alone. So thank you so much for joining me in this video, and I'll see you in the next one.